All right, today we're going to jump into a really powerful argument from the book of Romans. Seriously, this thing aims to completely flip how you think about suffering, your own identity, and what hope actually is.
So let's just start with a question that gets right to the heart of it all. Can the toughest, most painful stuff in your life actually lead to certainty, to an unbreakable kind of hope? I know, it sounds totally backward, but stick with me, because the logic behind it is just fascinating.
You see, the text lays out this surprising chain reaction. It's almost like a spiritual formula for how this whole process works, where one thing leads directly to the next, building something that just cannot be shaken. So get this, the argument is that suffering doesn't automatically have to end in despair. Instead, it can kick off this incredible process. It builds perseverance, that ability to just endure under pressure, and that perseverance, it forges proven character, which then, and only then, gives birth to real, genuine hope. To make this idea really stick, there's this amazing analogy. Think of a blacksmith. Suffering is the fire. It's all heat and the pressure. Perseverance is like the raw metal, just taking the heat, not breaking. And character? Well, that's the proven, tested quality of the metal that comes out on the other side. The original language actually has a word for it, dokime, which means something that's been tested and approved. Pretty cool, right? Okay, now we've got to be super clear about what we mean by hope here. This is not about crossing your fingers and just wishing for the best. Nope. This is a totally different kind of confidence. And here's the crucial difference. On one hand, you have worldly hope, which is really just a wish, right? It's based on stuff we can't control, our situation, our own efforts, you name it. But then there's this biblical hope, and it's more like an anchor. It's a solid confidence based on something that God has already done for us. One is a gamble, the other is a guarantee. And this right here is the foundation for the whole thing. This hope is secure because it's based on something objective that God did in the past, not on our shifty feelings, our own attempts to be good enough. The guarantee comes from God himself. So, you might be asking, okay, what's the reason for this guarantee? Where does it come from? Well, to explain that, the text tells this kind of epic origin story for all of humanity. And it's all seen through the eyes of two key figures. The argument basically frames humanity's problem like a medical issue. It all starts with the first Adam, who acted like a spiritual patient zero. He introduced this spiritual genetic defect, sin and death, that then got passed down to everybody. And this chart really lays it all out, side by side. It's like you've got two family trees, two bloodlines you can belong to. In Adam's line, one bad choice leads to condemnation and death for everyone. But in Christ's line, one act of total obedience, the cross, leads to justification and this overflowing, abundant life for anyone who receives it. It's a total reboot of our spiritual identity. And here's the real kicker. The text makes it super clear this isn't just a one-for-one swap. The gift of grace that comes through Jesus isn't just a reversal. No, it's described as overwhelmingly, massively more powerful than the original problem. The cure totally blows the disease out of the water. So if you've got this radical, complete cure, if you've been transferred into a whole new spiritual family, it naturally brings up a pretty big and practical question about how you're supposed to live now. Now, the text is smart. It knows what you might be thinking. It anticipates this objection. Hey, if God's grace is so amazing and abundant when we mess up, well, shouldn't we just keep sinning so we can see more of that awesome grace? It almost sounds logical in a twisted way, doesn't it? To show just how absurd that line of thinking is, it sets up a scenario. Let's put it in modern terms. Imagine someone stands up and says they've miraculously cured of a deadly disease, like lung cancer. What would you expect them to do? How would they celebrate being free from this thing that was literally killing them? It's ridiculous, right? It makes absolutely zero sense. You've been rescued from the very thing that was destroying you. You wouldn't run right back to it just to prove the cure works. You would hate it. You would run as far away from it as you could. And all of this builds to the final and maybe the most crucial point of the whole argument. How do we actually live out this new, cured identity day to day? So the text uses the physical act of baptism to symbolize this huge spiritual switch we've been talking about. It's a picture of dying to that old self, the one connected to Adam, and being raised up to a completely new kind of life. The logic here is so simple and so powerful.
Check it out. Premise 1, a dead person can't be ordered around by their old boss, right? Premise 2, your old self, that part of you tied to Adam, is now considered legally dead. So the conclusion is just inescapable. You are no longer a slave to sin. Its power, its authority over you has been broken.
And this leads us to a command for every single day. This isn't about how you feel. It's about what you choose to believe is true. We are told to actively count, or reckon, that old self as dead and gone, and to start living from our new, true identity, fully alive to God.
So this whole thing leaves us with one last, really provocative thought to chew on. The old tenet of your life, that old self, has been legally evicted and, well, executed. So now, when all those old habits and ways of thinking come knocking at the door, who's going to answer?